Production. Hannah Brand. That's me.
Well, welcome to Fork in the Road, on the road. I'm so excited for my first episode because here we are with Hannah Brand of Autumn Brands, and I feel like I have arrived in a garden oasis. We're in the middle of a greenhouse that is filled with the most incredibly beautiful cannabis. It is, I'm like surrounded by it. I'm bathing in it right now. I feel like I've died and gone to heaven, coming out of quarantine real strong. So Hannah, thank you so much for showing me this beautiful farm of yours.
Yeah, thank you for coming over.
It's so cool. I mean, you're driving out here and you're driving past all of these flower farms. And I kind of found out about you because the story was so interesting. Your family used to be Dutch flower farmers. You guys grew tulips, right?
Yeah, so before flowers, it was vegetables. But yeah, we've just transitioned through agriculture. But yeah.
So interesting. And then this greenhouse actually used to house tulips and Gerber daisies.
Yep. And lilies at some point and all types of flowers.
So cool. But I mean, I prefer this flower. I definitely do. I think it's fascinating because you've gone from one flower to the other. What drew you to farming cannabis?
I mean, one of the obviously main reasons was economics. With the Colombian flower trade opening up to get farmers to switch their cocoa plants to flowers, it opened up a lot of opportunity for South American farmers to import into America and really shut down a lot of the profits for American flower growers. And so you're already fighting over pennies and you lose one of your big Safeway accounts or something like that, or you miss one holiday and the numbers don't work out. That's your entire year pretty much. And so my brother and I were studying at Cal Poly, and my dad had this opportunity to transition from cut flowers to smokable flowers, you can say.
Yes, flower to flower.
And he was, part of the reason was economics, and then the other was he realized, he's actually never smoked in his life. He grew up in Holland till he was 18 and always saw it as, this bad drug, and he was only going to drink alcohol and never touch anything else. But while going through this period and learning other people's stories, he's realized that it's really medicine for a lot of people and helps get people off of opioids or off of anxiety medicine. So a little bit of, economic push and opportunity push to work with his kids, and then also the stories of that this isn't a normal plant, this is something special.
It's truly a miracle worker. I've heard so many stories of friends, family members who have been going through cancer treatment, and it's, they can't eat, and it's the only thing that allows them to gain their appetite back. For pain management. For me, I use CBD a lot on lotion, actually, on my knee when I had a really bad knee injury. It's been super duper helpful. And it's funny when you're like, yeah, you would only drink. But it's like, I mean, I love my beer, clearly. I'm not against that. Cheers.
Cheers.
But, it's just funny how it became this thing that, it was sort of very much demonized, especially in the, the 40s, 50s, 70s. I mean, reefer madness,
Yeah.
The thing that I think is really cool about what you're doing here specifically is that you are employing people year round. And I know that for a lot of the farms in the area and in all of, Central California and California in general, it's a lot of migrant labor. So people are moving up and down the coast. There are seasons, for things. And so families are moving around, which means that kids can't be in school regularly. Parents can't be with their kids all the time. I think that's really interesting. Was that an intentional choice to have full-time labor here?
Yeah, one of the great things about growing in a greenhouse is you can grow year round. You get 7 harvests throughout the year in each bay, so you're constantly harvesting every week and processing every week, and you can, in the summertime it does get bigger and it does get busier, so we offer more overtime opportunities, and then in the winter we still hire full-time or are paying full-time hours and all of that. So it's really nice to give them that stability that in the flower days they didn't have. Around Mother's Day, around Valentine's Day, people would come in at 4 a.m. I remember coming here before going to high school and sleeving bouquets and then coming after soccer practice. It's just like you get all of this overtime in one chunk, and then you have months of not doing anything, and that's the next holiday, and you're trying to balance all your people. Now it's consistently the same people coming to work every day and people that have been here. We have a few employees that have been working at this farm longer than I've been alive.
Wow. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's so cool. I mean, you get that vibe back there too. Like, again, I've been to a lot of processing facilities working in food for as long as I have. And it was like a party back there. They were like playing no que llora, like dancing around, and like there are beautiful, Dia de los Muertos flags, in the back, and there are little cooking stations in the lunch area. Like you can actually cook a proper lunch and like put tortillas on a little plancha, and like it feels very much like that family vibe, and I think that comes probably from you guys being a family-owned business.
Yeah, we used to do every Friday. We'd get a couple guys from the maintenance team. We'd go to the local market and buy a whole bunch of carne asada and chicken and do tacos every Friday. But with COVID and new health restrictions, we decided that we're going to buy it from a local catering company, the Food Liaison. So we still do it every Friday, and we give out the birthday cards and we thank everyone every month. But we definitely have that home vibe, that family vibe.
I love that. That's really cool. So you went to Cal Poly and got out of school. Did you know at that time that you wanted to study cannabis or to produce cannabis?
So when I applied to Cal Poly, I did not. I toured the school. I got a tour from the head of the ag department. All I kind of knew, I grew up on an avocado ranch. I came to these greenhouses and I worked in flowers. I was like, well, go to the best ag school you can and get that degree and then figure it out.
Yeah.
But then once I was there, my freshman year is when the conversation started and the transition started for all of this. But going to cannabis, a freshman in college, I wasn't allowed to talk about it. No one knew what was happening. Like a helicopter flew over and you're just like, they're not looking in here, right? It was all compliant. We had all the paperwork. We were the medical model, working with dispensaries, patient lists. You can grow X amount of plants per patient number you had and all that stuff. But it was still like, don't talk about it.
Yeah, so taboo. Because when was that that you were first
2015.
Okay, yeah. So it's changed even since then. It's changed so much in the last 5 years.
Oh, yeah. But then probably around 2017, we started to talk about it more. Mm-hmm. And then 2018, I was working here.
Yeah, that's so cool. So what was that process like in terms of getting the space permitted to grow?
So we're still going through it. So you have to get your Santa Barbara County land use permit. Mm-hmm. And that process they were hoping would take, about a year. And we're about 2.5 years in. Mm-hmm. We're very close to finishing it. And then you get to the place where people are allowed to appeal it. There is a group in Santa Barbara and Carpinteria that don't want it here, so we're expecting to get appealed every time. So it's probably going to be about another 10 to 12 months before we finish getting it. And then you get your business license.
Wow. So you guys you're not technically
You have our state licensing, okay, and we're allowed to grow under compliant non-conforming. So since we're already growing in the medical model, we don't have to stop operation to wait for this. Yeah. But instead we get to keep operating while we go through the process. Okay. But then if you see where you're sitting, these are all of our state licensing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So all of our cultivation licensing is done. We're just waiting for our county permits.
So what does that mean once you're permitted through the county? Then what does that afford you?
That basically means that we can keep operating, we can be a business.
Yeah.
So if you bought a greenhouse here and it wasn't already growing cannabis, you have to get all of that before you can start.
Okay. Got it. Cool. Really interesting. Do you think this is a growing industry in Santa Barbara specifically, or in the Central Coast area? Is this something you're beginning to see more and more people trying to make that transition?
Yeah, I think, all of the people that have been here growing for so long have already been doing this. Mm-hmm. It's just coming out how many of us are actually doing it.
Totally. Like, we've been here. Yeah. We out here and we've been here.
We just didn't talk about it much.
Exactly.
But then you see like some people buying greenhouses, which is also really cool because there's some farmers that have been here their entire life, or they're the second or third generation, and they got to sell their greenhouse for way more money than they would have pre-cannabis times and pre-licensing times. So it's nice to see kind of those families transitioning and giving someone else an opportunity for a new crop too.
Totally. One thing I thought that was so interesting just walking through the different greenhouses was the fact that there are like little ladybugs everywhere. Like there seems to be so much life, and there's no lighting. I feel like a lot of times you think of these like really intense lights and big fans, and it just seems very natural. Or is what you're doing considered sort of like minimal intervention farming?
Yeah, so we have taken a very sustainable approach. Just almost 3 years ago now, we decided that we're going to become a no-spray farm. So no pesticides, no fungicides, no nothing. Like you can't spray for bugs, you can't spray for molds. We're not going to do it. We're going to figure out how to control our environment, humidity, temperature, all of that stuff, and then also use, instead of using your normal integrated pest management program, which includes bugs, spraying, and everything, we're just going to rely on biocontrol. So ladybugs are actually the best biocontrol because they're free.
We like free.
We like free a lot. Yeah, we bought them once, and when you buy them, they have spots on them, and they're European ladybugs because that's what the breeders have. And those ones all flew away. And we actually have California native ones, which don't have spots.
That's cool. So they're kind of you're bringing back the native sort of flora and fauna, if you will, by not using the pesticides and allowing them to have a little home.
Yeah, ladybugs are the pickiest of bugs. They'll only lay their egg in like the perfect environment, so it needs food and a safe environment. If you ever spray, you're not going to see ladybug larvae for months.
Wow. Yeah, and we've seen them. I mean, there were tons of them. When we first walked in, they were everywhere. It's wild. And they're the cutest thing because they don't have the little spots on them. They're very, very unique looking.
Yeah, scary almost.
I know. You're like, wait a minute, but something about a polka dot really just like softens things, right? Like, stylish little buggies.
Now they're more beetles.
Yeah. So interesting. So in terms of the way that cannabis is typically grown, what are some of the negative side effects of the pesticides and things like that on the environment and things? I imagine a lot of the resistance from the county is because of what they think those side effects are.
Yeah, I think if you look at, the ideas of the black market where they just spray a whole bunch and leach fertilizers into the soil and that kind of stuff is really negative. But that's where this becoming a legal crop has become so beneficial because this is the cleanest. Any of these greenhouses in Carpinteria growing cannabis now versus what they were doing before are tenfold cleaner. You have this plant in this pot for only a few months. That means that you're not going to get these huge issues like you have when you have a plant for 2 years and you really have to mitigate the molds and those things. If you have an issue with this, it's going to be gone in a few months, and most of the time you can get by without it spreading. And all of that stuff. We also grow in a reclaimed water system, so all the water drains out, we reclaim it and can reuse it.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's most farms here because no water is, based on the land use permit, no water is allowed to go into the soil.
Wow, that's really cool. That's good. That helps, from getting into the water table and everything.
Yeah, you don't want those nitrates getting in the water.
Sure. It's really beautiful. For those of you who are not watching the video, which you should be, hello, get with it. You have to see this greenhouse. It's the most incredible thing. But it is really interesting because they're just almost in those like the pots that you would see tomatoes grown in, just a little bit smaller. Maybe was that a gallon pot?
Yeah. They're 1 gallon.
Yeah, a gallon pot, and then it's in coconut husk, right? So that's also another natural. Sort of not a humectant. What do you call that? Antimicrobial?
Yeah. So it's basically a byproduct of a coconut milk and meat farm in Sri Lanka, I believe. And so then it's sent over here, actually in like little bricks, and we use water, shake it up, loosen it all, gets good aeration. So there's no actual nutrients or anything in the coconut core. It's just to hold the roots and grow in, and we add all the nutrients through the fertilizer.
Oh, interesting.
Through the water.
Right, and it just kind of soaks it up because it's that husk. It's almost like a little sponge.
Yeah, and so it holds it really well. And yeah, all of our watering is done based on temperature, light sensors, and so it's really what the plant needs. If it's a hot day, it knows it needs more. If it's a cold day, it's not going to overwater it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. So I'm curious because you've kind of taken me through the steps. I've seen, everything from the little propagation units to, the roll room where you're doing all the pre-rolls. Just for the rest of us who don't know a ton about cannabis, can you just walk us through briefly through that life cycle from start to finish?
Yeah. So all of our plants here are female. Females make flowers, the males make pollen. So it's a women farm.
Yes. The girls do it better. Let's just be honest.
So it all starts with a cutting. We go through and we pinch all of our plants, our teens in the prop house, and we use those to make cuttings, and we root those out in our clone room. They'll spend about 2 weeks in there, and they'll be transplanted into the coconut core pots just as little guys. We actually use a soil and glue mixture so that the plug is recyclable as well. So the coconut core and the plug can all be turned into green waste.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then After that, it'll live in there for another about 4 weeks. It'll grow nice and big and strong. We'll separate them out on the table so they have more room. And then eventually, after 4 weeks, we'll bring them in here. My brother made this cool little cart that pushes to the back of the greenhouse, and you set out the plant as you go, so you really only need to pick them up once.
Wow, that
Yeah.
was very efficient. There was this sort of, it reminded me of a chocolate processing facility I saw in the Caribbean, actually. You just kind of slide it out. You slide it from one place to the other when it's drying and curing. To when it's being processed. It's very efficient.
Yeah.
Very efficient. So that's at the point when they're being propagated, shifted over here. Then what happens? I think you guys have this curing. I couldn't go in the curing room. I mean, that was off limits. I was like, well, what's on there? It looked beautiful. It almost looked like drying oregano or herb. Well, I wonder why.
It is herb.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll spend another 8 weeks in here. They'll flower, and then they'll be harvested. When they're harvested, they're weighed and brought back into the harvesting room. That's when they're hung on the racks, and the dry room was the one that we keep people out of.
Yeah.
But they'll dry in there for about 10 to 14 days, be hand bucked. We do all of our processing still by hand. That way we can catch any issues as we go. I think it's touched about 8 times before it leaves the property. So 8 times of QCing.
Wow.
But yeah, it'll be bucked and then hand trimmed, and then either it'll all be cured for about 10 days. Curing's when you keep it in the tote, then the nose will really come out. It also helps with the THC levels and just finishes the product off right. And then we'll bring it to our packaging room.
That was my favorite part. It was so cool. It reminded me of seeing, you think of Cuba and the it's women and men rolling this Cuban cigars and like these like truly, it's like it's like an art form.
Yeah.
They were moving and grooving in there. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, those ladies have some impressive skills.
Yeah, totally. I guess, which is an interesting point, because it's something that I always think about specifically in the world of cannabis, is that it's a really male-dominated industry. It's very similar. I come from hospitality, and it's like it's very rare to find a woman in a executive position in the kitchen, in executive positions in the hotel space as well, and any kind of woman on camera doing travel shows or anything. Yeah. But it's rare to even see women hosting travel shows. You have like Tony Bourdain and Andrew Zimmern and all those guys, but it's a lot of dudes. And so the thing that really drew me to you guys is that you're a majority female owned brand. What does it feel like to be a woman in this space?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
It's really empowering because we have this show called Hall of Flowers. And so when we go to that, we get to meet all of these different companies. And then when you're meeting other women in executive ownership roles or just really leadership positions, it's immediately just like boosting each other up.
Yeah, totally.
So it's a lot of fun. But then also on when I started my job here after graduating college, I was 23, came into this role. I'm an owner of this company, and now it's my job to sell all of the weed that we're not putting into our branded line.
Yeah.
It's very intimidating in a sense, because I think probably 95% of the people I was working with were male buyers from other companies or owners of other companies. But having the sense that no, this isn't my dad's company and I'm working for him. This is my company and I'm working with my brother and my dad and Autumn, our CFO. And this is my product that I know, I studied how we grow all of this, and now I'm going in the sales role. I know how all of it is processed, and I know what a good product we're making here. So I can really put my foot down and be proud of what I'm selling and have a strong back to anyone telling me differently.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. It puts you through the ringer, right? It's like, it makes you stronger. I think anybody doubting you, at least I felt that way, where it's like, oh yeah, you think I can't do it? That motivates me even more. I'll show you, motherfucker. I think it's changing though. I know a friend of mine actually works for a group called Women in Weed. And she's
nice.
up in Oakland. And anyway, I think that camaraderie is something that's, it comes through adversity. Like there'd be no reason to band together if that community existed already.
And we also have a great opportunity. This is a new market. These are new companies emerging, new businesses starting, and women are just going, hey, I'm going to start from the top.
Yes.
It's not like the alcohol industry where all of those roles are already taken and we're trying to climb the ladder up, or other industries that have been male dominated, because this is we need a company and we need a CEO. It's going to be you know?
It's gonna be me. So another thing that's so interesting is this like culinary element. So if you guys follow them on the gram, it's at Autumn Brands. They have a really strong culinary branding. So they have like a wedding cake flavor, an orange crush flavor, which to me I'm like, ooh, orange crush. Sounds so good. Like I could use one of those right now. What is it? From what I understand, it's the terpenes, right, that give that aromatic flavor. Like, what is a terpene? And B, what is the differentiating factor that makes something taste more like a lavender versus a blueberry, for instance?
Yeah, so terpenes are in all plants. Cannabis just has a lot of them.
We love them. Every last one of them. Don't you change a thing.
So it's like wedding cake. I believe the top terpene is like limonene, which kind of reminds you of fruit peels. And like, and then also there's some rosemary has a lot of it. So even though those aren't similar smells, I don't know, the way that they combine with the other ones really change how they are. I actually just blended together our Orange Crush, our Dreamwalker, and our wedding cake to make a pre-roll blend. And as soon as we blended them all together, all we could smell was cherries. So we called it Sweet Cherry Orange.
It sounds like a popsicle. I could use one of those on a day like today. What is this one we have here?
That's a new one. It's watermelon gelato. You can open it.
On a hot day like today? Yes, please. Watermelon gelato. Yeah.
So it's...
oh my gosh.
It's a hybrid. It's really dense buds and just a sweet smell. Classic. I mean, gelato's known for being denser and sparkly. I call it sparkly, but terpenes.
You know, it reminds me of like a watermelon bubble gum, like that Bubblicious. You know what I mean? That juicy. Yeah. That's really lovely smelling.
Yeah.
Let's have a look-see here.
And part of the reason that
beautiful.
You know, we can get ours to smell so well is because we take the time to actually cure it. You know, we're not trimming it and throwing it in a jar and calling it good.
Right.
You let it sit all together for as long as possible.
It's gorgeous. Yeah. It's also just like very beautiful. And I love, you know, it's beautiful. It's crystally. It's got the orange hairs, but it's not like you can't still see the green. I feel like people grow stuff all fucking wonky now. You know what I mean? It's just like, dude, can we just have some weed that we like to smoke? Like, does it have to kill me for like 5 days? It's intense. That's great. So so how many different varieties do you guys have then?
So we like to grow 12 or less at a time. I kind of ruined my brother's life this summer a bit. Just kidding.
Oh boy.
We were transitioning between genetics, and so we had to take out about 6 because we got about 10 new ones, and then I had to take out some of those. So it's childproof.
Oh, sorry.
So
and I am definitely a child. Let's be honest.
You break the seal, you push down the top, and then you push in the tab at the same time, and then you can pull it forward.
That's clever. Oh my. I'm an edibles girl. I gotta be honest. I'm like chomping on those kivas like you wouldn't believe.
Oh my gosh, the Petramints.
Oh, the Petrament that's my jam.
I'm like, no Advil, just a Petrament.
Just a Petrament. And it's like the 2 milligrams of THC. Like, I used to be a huge fucking stoner. Yeah. I went to UC Santa Cruz. So
nice.
I trimmed for friends, and in turn for trimming, I would get the shake, and then I would take the shake and make butter.
Oh.
And then I'd make baked goods. And they called me Betty Toker. And I just love to cook, right? So I'd make like Nanaima bars with my friends and layer cakes and cookies and then sell them. And that's how I started traveling.
Nice.
Because that's where I got my money. I mean, aside from my other jobs that I held, but it was some nice pocket change. It was also fun. I think it's a really fun culinary element to work with, right?
My grandma actually came over today with some cookies because I asked her for a Dutch recipe that I can work with Joe Sasto on infusing cannabis with.
Ooh, yeah.
For the holidays.
Ooh.
But she understood what I was saying, but she's like, so you want to decorate it with cannabis or what do you want? So she brought over these cookies that are like flat and round and you hang them in the Christmas tree and then eat them.
Ooh.
But you decorate them. And I'm like, yes, but we're going to have to put cannabis in the butter or something like that. She's like, I think we can do that.
Yes. Oh my God, hang it on one of the trees. Like, you gotta have a cannabis tree.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's going to be so tender. Oh my gosh. MedMen did a really cool Christmas issue last year. It was really, really well done. You might get some fun ideas out of that one.
Yeah.
They're an interesting bunch as well. Before we keep rolling, I've got a quick note from our sponsor, RV Share. For me, there's no greater joy than the freedom of the open road. And what better way to do that than keeping all of the comforts of home while you're on the move? I'm talking about planning an RV road trip. RV Share is the largest RV rental website with thousands of awesome RVs to choose from nationwide. So turn your daydreams into reality like I did and head to rvshare.com today. That's rvshare.com, where you can find the perfect RV for your next adventure. Now, back to our episode. So now in the pre-rolls, what you guys do with different blends? What does this one here? Does it say? Oh, this is the watermelon sundae.
So that one's the watermelon gelato, which you just smelled with sundae strudel.
What is the best way if you want to cook with cannabis? What is the best way to like sort of conceptualize that, like using the flavor profile as your guide? Like, any tips?
I mean, I think looking at the type of strain it is, how, is it more sweet? Is it more like gassy? And trying to think of what you're trying to accomplish, because there are some things you can make that are more savory, and maybe using a gassier strain or a OG strain, and then using more of like a Dreamwalker for those sweeter things, those kind of softer notes. Might be positive or might be yummy.
Yes.
But
sounds yummy. I'll take it.
Yeah. And then also, I mean, I don't know if you ever look at leafly.com. I go there all the time, but their whole thing is explaining cannabis strains. And so, while it's not the same, every grower is different and every grower has slightly different genetics, it has a great baseline for different strains and the terpene profiles of them and the sativa hybrid indica levels of them.
Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm wondering is, as I'm seeing this all happening and we're heading up into wine country, is I would just love to see this be something like, not necessarily like Holland, right? Because Amsterdam's a little bit, it's its own beast. And I think the cafes are fun. But could there be a world where we're coming up on a weekender and we're going into cannabis country and there's talk of the terroir and we're going into, I don't know, a cannabis tasting room? Like, do you see that in the future?
I definitely see that. It's probably going to take a while for my town of Carpinteria to get there.
Come on, Carpinteria, get there.
I know.
We're talking to you.
But I already see it in other places, like up in San Francisco. They do have smoke lounges attached to dispensaries, and people are trying to create these experiences where you go to places and you learn about the farming behind what you're smoking, and then you go and you can taste different flavor profiles. And I was at an event in LA, and the whole idea behind it was that they had these different pre-rolls and that you needed to taste the different terpenes in all of them and the flavors that came naturally through the plant, not added in. And it was really cool how much they're trying to market their product for the flavor profile, which, for us, we haven't done much of. We market it for our quality and consistency and THC.
Yeah.
But yeah, to look at the other side of it and look at the terpenes and, I want this experience and I want it to taste like this. So I'm going to try blah, blah, blah.
Right, yeah. I mean, I think that could be so cool. Like, there's this little kit in the World of Wine, and it's called L'Anes de Vin, and it's like little tiny vials of the different chemical compounds that you have in wine and what makes it smell like tobacco or cherry. And so you smell it, and then you can then identify it. It just helps your brain kind of register, like, okay, that is the smell of that. Okay, that's how that smells in this wine, right?
So those are all terpenes.
Exactly, right? And like you could maybe even use something like that or, reframe it. I think there's so many points of reference, especially in the culinary world, the world of wine, that like cannabis could use, especially as, we normalize, this industry that's growing and has the opportunity to provide so many jobs, for people. And obviously the tax is incredible. Like, we need it in California.
My gosh, especially now.
Yeah.
Sales and hotel tax used to be Santa Barbara's number ones, I believe. And now all of that is gone for the last 7 months.
Yeah.
And cannabis is sticking around.
Yeah.
Very lucky to be considered an essential business and not have to close our doors.
Dude, what would people do with that weed?
Oh my God. We'd be in a greenhouse of dead plants. Me, my brother, and my dad couldn't harvest all of these.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
or monster plants that touch the ceiling.
Yeah. Ooh, that I'd like to see.
Spooky season.
Little shop of horrors. Oh, that would be so cool. That'd be so cool. So what do you think some of the biggest industry issues are that you're currently facing?
I think the amount of illegal weed, the black market, still in California. When my dad was on this water board commission ceremony, or not ceremony, but basically talk where people were asking questions to all these different officials up there, they asked, what do you think the illegal market's at? And one of them was saying, well, based on the 50,000 applicants for water use permits we got, there's only 5,000 left.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's like a lot of people decided that the legal process wasn't the way that it was going to go. And the danger with that is, one, there's no regulation on pesticides, no regulation on the environment, what you're doing to the environment. And people sometimes don't know that they're buying illegal weed. There's so many illegal shops in LA and big cities that people just think that those products are priced better when they don't realize they're not paying taxes on them. They could have really harsh chemicals in them. But yeah, the best way to tell for a consumer, little education piece, is a dispensary needs to have their license and their QR code on the front of their business so you can scan it and see that it's valid before you go in.
That's good to ask. I mean, do you wish there would be a world where we ask about the grower, and you get an honest answer? Kind of like, you go to a farmer's market and it's like you ask about, ask Harry's Berries and they'll tell you all about the farm.
Yeah, I think that Carpinteria and Santa Barbara County as a whole is really adamant for that. We are all pretty much farm to table cannabis farmers. We all have brands and we want to educate the consumer and say, hey, when you buy your Autumn Brands jar, it's only coming from my farm. It's only grown by my brother and my dad. No pesticides, and that's never changing. When you buy from a brand that sources flower, maybe they buy from the same farm every time and maybe it's consistent, but you never really know because it is just a brand looking for certain qualities and that's what they're going to put in their jar.
Totally. I mean, those are all good tips for us as we're consumers and enjoying and imbibing out there. To that tune, where do you think the industry will be in 5 to 10 years? What do you envision?
I think people are going to continue to educate themselves, continue to learn what strains do for them, how the endocannabinoid system works for their body, how they can, wean off of certain medicines and use cannabis to really help with chronic issues or things that have been going in their life for a long time, and less criticism against that it's a drug and it never does anything good.
Yeah.
Because, I'm a Rotarian, and last Wednesday we had a meeting, so I ended up going with my computer to a friend of mine who's 93. She's the oldest member in our Rotary Club, and I'm the youngest at 24.
Yeah.
And for the first time in her life, she has chronic back pain. And
it's kind of amazing to be 93 and not.
Yeah, that's what
I'm like, what was she doing before the cannabis?
She's like, I hate pills. I don't want to take Advil. And so I gave her a Petramit. Yeah. And then also I told her I'm going to go get her some topicals and some back patches and just see if they work. And she goes, well, you're the one that grows it all, so I'll trust you. I'll try anything.
Yeah, yes. It's so cool. I think it's so interesting to be able to actually see the plant. It's such a miracle plant.
Yeah.
It's very special.
Where it all starts for all of those products.
Exactly. I think that's the thing. We get very detached from it, right? It's like you just kind of assume, I don't know. I've seen like a plant before, but it's incredible the scale of it. And then to see that it's done, sustainably and where, using gray water. I mean, that's not great. It's not considered great.
No, but we recycle. Water. Yeah, we use well water and then we recycle water.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not the norm.
No, we turned off our RO system maybe 8 months ago.
Wow.
Which is a big deal. But overall, like, my brother and dad have made this farm extremely sustainable and, something to really be proud of. Yeah, maybe we lose some yields when we have outbreaks of different things or we can't spray a section of something. But at the end of the day, we're creating a product and that we get feedback on and people go, why is this better? Why? Like, I can taste it different. It doesn't make me cough. It doesn't do this. Like, it doesn't give me a headache. I'm like, yeah, because there's no chemicals and it's grown by the sun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look, guys, it's so funny. We take all this great care when we go to the farmer's market to buy our fruits, our vegetables, and find out where our food is from and buy organics at the supermarket, whatever it is. But, like, what about your pot? Like, come on, you're putting that into your lungs. You're directly inhaling it. It's something we should really ask about, and I think it's so cool what you're doing. So keep it up and open that freaking tasting room as soon as they get it together here in Santa Barbara County.
Yes.
I say just open up. I think it'd be really cool to see. Before we go, we're going to do a little rapid fire.
Hybrid.
Okay, Krista.
Oh, gosh. Sativa. Sorry, I was like, wait, I have to answer this too now, don't I? Shit.
Favorite hip-hop artist you'd want to smoke with? Go.
Snoop Dogg.
Pac.
Okay, great.
Oh.
Favorite method to indulge?
That'd be a fun sesh there.
Pre-rolls.
I'm an edibles girl. All those Kiva Petraments, man. I just keep on coming back to them. And the
Pre-rolls
gummies.
are so convenient.
I need to smoke your pre-roll. This around
Yeah.
the campfire tonight is going to be so good.
Nice.
I cannot wait.
Pinot Noir or Syrah?
Oh, Pinot for me.
Pinot.
Yeah.
So they're
Oh,
also
Pinot.
sweet.
Yeah, it's too much. I feel like they can be really big, but Ballard Canyon has some amazing Pinot Noirs, so I feel like they're coming up. But yeah,
Have
generally.
you explored San Ynez wine country yet?
I have, and I'm doing more.
Merlot in the weed world. What is your Merlot?
Ooh.
Our wedding cake.
Oh, you won't smoke.
Don't
Oh,
you?
wait.
Don't
Oh,
you dare
Merlot.
make me drink Merlot. I won't.
Oh, that thing.
Merlot.
Drink Merlot.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Do not smoke.
I will not smoke a fucking volcano. That stuff, that just puts me on my ass. I can't. I can't with a big old, any kind of I just want to I want to breathe. I just want my lungs. That's all.
I remember at gravity bong in college. That was pretty rough.
Oh God, I remember those. Oh, why did we do that to ourselves? What were we thinking?
Fuck.
Anything Tom Petty. Anything Tom Petty. Yeah.
Shania Twain.
Yeah. Oh, Shania, sing along. Yes. Anywhere outside of the U.S. right now, I need to get the fuck out of here.
Anyone in specific?
Oh gosh, I would love. Let's see. I can't even think. This is so crazy. Mediterranean. I want to go back to the Amalfi Coast.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful place.
Yeah.
I
Croatia,
still need,
maybe.
I still need to get over to Australia.
Yes, it's the best. It's the best in the world.
Right? RV or hotel?
RV.
Yes, RVs. That's right. RV share. It's actually really fun.
Oh yeah.
I'm shocked. I'm definitely gonna need this fucking joint after though. It was stressful, but day one we made it safely. And
Success.
Danny's gonna be driving me out of here because I had a beer. Love you, Danny.
Great outdoors or staycation?
I like glamping. I'm somewhere in between. I love a good glamp.
Oh, great outdoors. I drive a Jeep Wrangler with no doors and 37 wheels.
Oh, you're so fucking cool, Hannah. Shit. I have a compass. That says a lot about me. I'm very much like the urban adventurer. I want to camp, but I want a car camp.
Yeah.
And I want it to be cute.
Oh, no. I bring my Yeti with my grill, my little stovetop.
Yeah.
I made, what did I make? Carne asada tacos last time I went camping. I'm out in the wilderness, but I eat well.
Yes, that's the way. Oh my gosh, we need to bring you along in the next one. We brought our little grill. I don't know how to work the damn thing.
All right, guilty pleasure, go.
Oh, guilty pleasure food?
Food, anything.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
everything.
wow. I love tuna melts. I'm a tuna melt. I just love a tuna melt. I don't know. It's not really fancy.
Tomato and cheese, like a caprese. Oh my God. If you put them in the little skewers with the little cherry tomato,
Oh, yeah.
I just eat half of the dish.
Oh yeah. Could you do that with one of these leaves? Or is that I feel like
Instead of a basil leaf?
What does the leaf taste like?
You can eat a piece.
Can I try one?
I don't know. My dog eats them. We have a Doberman, and dog's endocannabinoid system can actually get high from THCA, which is doesn't get humans high, but
It's just very leafy. There's nothing really it has a little bit of scent. It's definitely the bud. It's all concentrated
Yeah.
in that bud, huh?
yeah.
Not bad though.
Pizza.
Yes. Oh my God. I want my mom's Swedish meatballs.
Oh,
They're so good. They're
a
so
thin
good.
A real Italian pizza.
In Napoli. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Take me back right
I was
now.
there.
Yeah. Isn't it the best?
4 years ago.
Oh, it's the best place in the
Gypsy
world.
town.
Yes, I know. It's just so weird. It's so Italy. It's so
Yeah.
offensively fiery Italy. Well, we're gonna get there. We'll get out of this. But in the meantime, this will take me there in my mind. So that's cool. Hannah, thank you so much. This has been really a treat. You guys be sure to follow along with them. Where can everybody follow along with Autumn Brands?
You can follow us on Instagram at Autumn Brands. We have Facebook as well, and then our autumnbrands.com.
Perfect. Amazing. And be sure to check this out, you guys, online. We're going to be posting this video to Facebook, YouTube, all of the above. You can see the greenhouse, BTS. It's pretty incredible. And they're doing it all, sustainably, which is something just really beautiful to see. So cheers to you, my dear. Whoops. Cheers to the microphone, too.
Cheers.
Salud. Thank you. Keep calm and cannabis on.
Oh, yeah.